Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. I'm your host, Brian Stuart. In this lesson, we're going over Science Book 3, Lesson 2, Plant Parts. Okay, so we will discover in this unit names for the different plant parts. What are the different parts of plants and what do we call them? Also, we'll discover what plants do. Okay, as usual, we start with the vocabulary, so let's get started. Our first word is petal. Petal is a very important part of the plant. The petal is the beautiful part of the plant, right? They are the thin, colorful parts of a flower, right? So many plants have flowers, or they have flowers usually in the springtime, right? Even trees, right? They will have these little green buds, and then the green buds will open, and they'll be blue, or they'll be red or white. And they're very thin. They're like leaves almost, but they're thin, and they feel almost like plastic or wax. And they're very colorful. So they are thin, colorful parts of a flower. Thin, colorful parts of a flower on many types of plants. Next, we have a thorn. Ouch, right? Be careful. A thorn is a sharp, pointed part of a plant. It's a good picture of thorns. Do you like roses? Many roses, when you pick, be careful picking or touching a rose bush because they have many thorns. So you have to be very careful. If you want to give your mom or your girlfriend a rose, be careful holding the rose, right? Because if the thorn pricks your skin, it actually goes into your skin and ouch, right? It may hurt you and you have blood, right? So that's a thorn. Sharp, pointed part of a plant. Be careful around some plants that have thorns. Okay. Next we have vine. Vine. Now vines are cool plants because, they start off low, but as they grow, they send out little, we'll see the word later, they're called tendrils, but they send out little parts of the plant that grow up a building or a wall. And it's kind of cool because the picture shows it well. You see, the vine sends out all these little branches and they climb up, or they climb along a wall, they climb over a building. Many famous colleges in America are called Ivy League colleges because they're so old. The buildings are very old, and the vines that grew on the bottom, they grew along the side of the building. So you don't see the building, you just see the vine. So the buildings are covered with the vines. Very interesting. Vine. Okay, next. Attract. Attract is to cause someone or something to move towards you. To attract is, to make someone like you, or something makes other people like it, or not just people, but it could be animals, or in this case, insects, right? So if you think about it, a flower has many beautiful petals, right? So is it the beautiful, colorful petals that attract bees? No, it's the smell of the center of the flower. The bees smell that and they're attracted to it. Now, of course, scientists are saying that sometimes the patterns on the petal also attract bees, so it also helps bees. But basically they're saying, hey bees, come here. We've got some nice pollen for you. So they're attracting bees to the flower, right? If you have an ice cream truck come through your neighborhood, right? You hear the music attracts all the kids to come and get ice cream. Yay! Or they hear the bell, ding, 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 the little musical bells that play when the ice cream truck comes through the neighborhood. So to attract means to to make people or to cause people to say, oh, great, and they get excited and they want to go see something or they want to go get something or, they come towards that thing that is attracting them. Okay, interesting word. Next, support. Support is important, right? Support is when you hold something in place or you help something stand up. Let's say something is not very strong. It will fall over if you don't support it. You put something here, maybe a piece of wood or a wall to help it stand up. Buildings, of course, have metal pieces to help support the building and a good foundation, right? Older people might use a stick to support them as they walk along the trail when they go hiking, right? So support is something that helps hold another thing in place or helps hold another thing upright. That's support. And of course, we can also talk about supporting other people. Sometimes people get sad or they feel they're not, they need some help. So you can support other people. You can cheer them up. You're helping them get back on their feet. Good job. Support. Okay. Spread, right? Before I talked about vines, right? They grow up and around. They don't just grow up the building, they grow along the sides of the building too. So to spread means to cover a larger and larger area over time. They spread out, right? Spread out is usually a common combination of words, to spread or to spread out. Vines spread over the building, right? So they spread out over a larger and larger area over time, to spread. Okay, good. Dandelion. Now, everybody knows what a dandelion is. You probably see them growing everywhere. Actually, my dad hated dandelions because dandelions are actually weeds. They're a wild plant. They have yellow flowers, but like, my dad and many other people, they say they have no use and they grow everywhere. They grow where you don't want them to grow. They will grow in the cracks in a sidewalk. My dad's like, oh, we got to get rid of the dandelions. Or if he's trying to have, he has grass in front of his house. He doesn't like dandelions because they'll take over and they'll kill all the grass. So dandelions are a wild plant. They're a very tough plant. Many people think of them as weeds. Weeds is an unwanted plant. So dandelion. Although dandelions are cool because you can pick them and you can blow and all the seeds go away. So they're kind of cool too. Okay, dandelion. Cactus. Now, actually, cactus, I have also experience with cactus. I used to live in Arizona, which is in the southwest part of America. We had cactus like this in our backyard. They're called saguaro. Ooh, that's a difficult word. Don't worry, it's a type of cactus. There are really tall cactus and there are small cactuses. Some people say cactuses, some people say cacti. Cacti is Latin, but a lot of people just say cactuses. It's okay. So there are big cactuses and there are small cactuses. There's all different kinds of cactuses. But cactus have one thing in common. All kinds of cactuses, they all have one thing in common. Do you see on the picture, do you see those little things coming off the cactus? Those are thorns. Remember we talked about thorns. They're sharp parts of a plant. They're like needles. And on a cactus, oh my gosh, they have a lot of these thorns all over them, right? A plant covered in thorns, and they usually grow in the desert, like in Arizona, where we used to live. And so you have to be careful around the cactus because those thorns will stick you. And even if you're walking in jeans, right? They can even go through your jeans. So you have to be careful around cacti or cactuses. Okay, it's a cactus. Okay, our last word. Remember I talked about vines. They grow, right? As vines grow, they send out branches, but you can also call them tendrils. Tendril is a part of a plant that can grab onto things. And if you look at the picture, you see the little curly things at the ends of the leaves on this branch. It looks like kind of an ivy, I don't know, maybe a palm branch. But those have little hooks, and they can reach out and they can grab onto things. And that's how a vine grows up a building. They have little tendrils and the little hooks, and they go into the concrete or the brick wall, and they kind of hold onto it. And then so that supports it so it can grow even more and spread out over a larger area. So tendril, we can see tendril is important, but we also can see how it supports a plant and also how it can spread out over other areas. So good word, we can use the other words we just studied to help explain what a tendril is. Part of a plant that can grab onto things. Don't worry, it won't grab onto you. It's not that fast. It takes a long time. So don't worry. Okay, that wraps up our vocabulary section. Let's move on. Now it's time to take a look at the visual summary. And here we can see there are different parts of plants. Of course, there are many, many different kinds of plants. And some plants have certain parts and other plants have different parts. Now, many plants that grow in forests or where there's a lot of water, they will have flowers and they will have petals. So our picture is about petal and thorn. Petals, as we talked about before, they are the thin parts of a flower. They are colorful. And they attract insects. They make insects want to come to them. Also the smell, the nectar or the pollen, also attracts insects. Now, other plants that grow in deserts, there's not a lot of water. They will have thorns. So that's an interesting situation. Why do some plants have thorns, especially in the desert? Well, think about it. In the desert, there's not a lot of water. If an animal wants to get water in a forest, usually in a forest, there's a stream, or there might be a lake nearby, or puddles of water. So the animals can just go and drink from the stream, or they can drink from the lake. But in the desert, there isn't any water. So what do animals do? They think, well, if I eat the plant has water in it. And many cacti do have water in it. You can take a cactus, some kind of cactus, and if you burn, you use some kind of torch to burn the thorns off the cactus, then you can squeeze the cactus and water will come out. So if you're ever in the desert and you need water, and hopefully you got a match or some kind of torch with you, you can burn the needles off the cactus, you can get water that way. So anyway, animals know that, so they might eat all the plants. What are the plants going to do? Well, the plants evolved to have thorns, so they protect the plants so the animal doesn't come along and eat the cactus to get the water, because animals don't want to eat thorns. Ow! That would really hurt the inside of their mouth. They don't want to do that. So, some plants have thorns on their stems. Thorns can protect a plant from animals, right? The animals want to eat the plant. Plant says, no, 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 no. I'm going to hurt you if you try to eat me. And that's why they have thorns. Okay, interesting. So plants can defend themselves. Plants sometimes attract animals. Sometimes they say, animals, stay away. Don't come near. Okay, interesting thing about plants. Okay, let's continue and let's look up closer to the different parts of a plant. We already talked about two, right? We saw petals attract animals and insects to the plant, and thorns keep animals away. Those are two parts of plants. What are some other parts of plants? And you probably know some of these, or you've experienced some of these. The first word we have is root. Root. Now, a root is a part of the plant that is underground, right? When we look at the ground, right, we only see the part of the plant that's growing up out of the ground. But under the ground, there's another part. Some plants are bigger. They have really big roots and we don't see it, and just a small part on the top. So some plants have more underground that we can't see than they do above ground. And think about trees. Trees are really heavy and they're big. We only see them from the ground up. But trees must have really strong and wide roots to support that heavy tree above the ground. So roots are underground. What do? They don't just support the tree or the plant to stand it up. They also are very important because they take in water and nutrients from the soil. Roots are like the mouth of plants. They eat the dirt around them. They drink the water that goes into the ground and comes in the roots. They drink that water. They eat the dirt around them so the plant can grow. Just like you eat food so that you grow, plants use their roots to take in water and food so that they can grow and get bigger. Next, we have the stem. Now, as I said before, the stem is usually the part that you see sticking up from the ground. Underneath are the roots. Now, the stem has to be supported. The roots support the stem. And the stem is the usually long, straight part, but not always. Sometimes it can be on the ground and it can be curvy. But, for trees and many other types of plants, the stem is straight. And it's long, but it carries water and nutrients to the different parts of the plants. For example, the leaves or the branches, right? So that is the stem. Now, we have leaves. Of course, when we look at plants, we see, wow, they're green. When we're in nature, especially in the spring and the summertime, we look around and there's so much green. And those are the leaves on a plant. The leaves, of course, are the green parts on the end of the branches. They're thin. You can easily break them or take them off of a tree. And what do leaves do? Well, roots take in water and they also take in food from the soil, but leaves take in air, right? They breathe the air, and they also, very important, plants do this, we can't do this, they use the power of the sun, the energy of the sun will hit the green leaves and use that energy, and they'll turn it into food for the plant. So the plant is eating from the top and the bottom, right? The plant is getting food from many different places and energy from many different places. Leaves take in air and sunlight to make food and help the plant grow. So it's like the plant has two different types of mouths. The roots are the mouths, but the leaves are also kind of like mouths, collecting air and sunlight. Okay, next we have flower. We already talked about the flower. The flowers form fruit and seeds, right? Now, a plant wants to reproduce, right? It wants to make more plants like it. So what it usually does, it has a little green bud that opens up into a flower. Insects come and they gather some of that pollen in the flower, right? And they might use that pollen, they go to another tree, and then that's how some trees reproduce. Other trees, like apple trees, orange trees, peach trees, are you getting hungry? They will grow fruit, right? And the fruit, of course, they'll have a flower first, and that flower will turn into a fruit, and then you eat the fruit, or another animal eats the fruit, and what's inside the fruit? Seeds. So flowers form fruit and seeds. Animals eat the seeds and then walk away, and then later the seeds go, we won't talk about that, but the seeds come out of the animal and they go into the ground, and a new apple tree, a new orange tree, a new pineapple trees, sure, will grow from those seeds. Okay, so watermelons will also do it. Watermelons have many seeds, and you can grow not watermelon trees, but watermelons grow on vines. So many plants will use seeds to reproduce. They make fruit, and in the fruit there are seeds to make more plants of the same thing. So that's an important function of flowers. Last, we have cone. Now, cones are only on certain types of plants. What kind of plants can you find where can you find a cone? What kind of plants? Well, cones are usually on what we call pine trees, or you could say fir trees. Fir tree is a type of pine tree. Pine tree is a tree that doesn't really have leaves. It has the needles. Probably you go into the mountains or the hills near your house or your apartment building, and you can see trees. They don't have leaves. They have these little thin, they look like needles, and they're not very strong, but they could prick you. They're a little sharp. Those are called fir trees or pine trees, and they are green all year round. They don't lose their leaves. They don't turn brown in the winter like some other trees. They are green all year round. And those trees will produce cones, and that's a picture of a cone, and they're very interesting. They're kind of beautiful, even though they're brown and not very bright colored, but people use them for decorations. So people will go through and they'll pick up cones. Now inside the cones, though, there are seeds, and squirrels usually go and they find those seeds and they'll keep them for the winter time, right? But cones produce seeds. If those seeds fall out, they will grow another tree. So, you know, some plants will grow flowers and fruit, make seeds to reproduce. Other plants like fir trees, pine trees, will grow cones to make seeds to make new trees. So we have lots of different parts of plants. Some parts are not on every plant, but they are common parts of plants. We have roots. All plants have roots. All plants have stems. Most plants have leaves. When we think about leaves, fir trees, are they leaves? They're needles. They don't have leaves. Some plants have flowers. Other plants don't have flowers. And only a few types of plants, pine trees, have cones. Okay, so that's interesting about plant parts, right? Some parts are on every plant, but some plants are specialized, and they only have those parts, only for those plants. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's move on. Next, we're going to take a look at the reading section. Okay, let's go over the reading section. So, as usual, I will read it. Go ahead in your mind, read it with me, and if you want, say it out loud with me to practice speaking out loud and pronouncing the words. So, in the reading, we will see many of the vocabulary words that we studied. Are you ready? Let's begin. Petals are the thin parts of a flower. They can be large or small. Petals are colorful and smell nice. They attract insects. Dandelion flowers have many yellow petals. Bees like to visit dandelions. Some plants have thorns on their stems. These thorns are sharp and can hurt. You should keep away from them. A cactus is a plant that has many thorns. Cactus plants live in areas where there is little water, like a desert. They store water in their stems. Animals want to drink this water. Thorns can protect the cactus from animals. Yeah, we talked about that, right? Animals want to drink the water in the cactus. Thorns say to the animals, stay away. Okay, let's continue. Continuing, we have vines are plants that climb or grow along the ground. Vines have tendrils. They refers back to tendrils. They are like fingers. Tendrils are like fingers. They are like fingers. They grab onto things. The tendrils support the vine and hold it in place. Vines can spread a long way. Beans and watermelons grow on vines. Okay, now let's talk about the reading skill. And this reading skill is cause and effect. Cause and effect means you have something that it happens and it creates. Because this happens, another thing happens. So this is the cause, and the effect is the result of this thing happening. So you have one action, and this action makes another action. So this action is the cause, and the other action that is a result of that cause. Cause and effect. So on the left side, we see the causes. On the right side, we see the effect. So the cause is just something that happens, right? It's something that maybe someone or something does to cause another action. So let's go over this. The first cause, petals smell nice. If you take a flower, you smell, oh, smells nice. Very, very good. That's an action, right? That's a cause. What is the result, or what is the effect of that? Well, when insects smell the petals, they want to go to the flowers, right? Remember the vocabulary word that we used or we studied to say that if you make something come to you, you make them excited about it. And so they go to that thing. That means to attract. So petals attract. Attract. Petals attract insects. That's a C and a T. Okay, so attract insects. So petals smell nice. That's the cause. The effect is insects come to smell them and to gather pollen. Okay, the next cause, number 2. These plant parts are sharp and can hurt. These plant parts, that's a clue, right? What plant parts? What are they talking about here? Whoops, sorry, right there. These plant parts right there. These plant parts are sharp and they can hurt, right? They protect plants. You should keep away from sharp things, right? So what are the plants that are sharp? Of course, those are thorns. And we can say thorns. Thorns. So thorns protect plants. Thorns are the plant's way of saying, stay away, don't come near. You should keep away from sharp things. So the cause, many plants have thorns. Thorns can hurt you. The effect of that is that they protect the plants. Okay? So the plants don't want animals to eat them for the water, especially in deserts where there is no water. Right? So thorns protect them. Okay, the third cause and effect is a vine has tendrils. They refers to tendrils. They grab onto things and beep the vine. Okay, so the tendrils, right? Think about a vine growing up a wall, right? If the tendrils don't grab onto the wall, the vine will fall to the ground. There's no way for the vine to stay on the wall. The vine needs to have some what? The vine needs something to support it. So tendrils grab onto things and support the vine. So tendrils grab onto the wall, little, parts in the concrete or the brick, and they hold onto the wall. And they support the vine. So the vine can grow. The vine, what? Beep, a long way. So the vine is growing. It's getting bigger. It's covering more and more area over time. Do you remember the vocabulary for that? Yes, it is spread. But we need another word here. The vine, well, you could just put supports, I guess. The vine, but you can also put the vine can. Well, let's put can. Can spread. That's one way. Another way, the vine spreads. So you have 2 possible. Okay, so the vine can spread a long way, or the vine spreads a long way. And that's because why? Because the vine has tendrils. That is the cause. It can support the vine. That's the cause. What's the effect? The vine grows really, really far. Like I said, many famous colleges in America called Ivy School because the vine spread all over the building. And the building is covered with vines. Ivy. So Ivy League school. Okay. Anyway, that's our lesson for today. Very interesting. We learned about plant parts. And plants are very interesting organisms. They're not animals, they're organisms. They're living things. They're different from animals, but they are very interesting because they have a lot of different parts. And although they can't really think, but they can change over time to respond to their natural environment. So some flowers have petals to attract insects. Some plants grow fruit to drop seeds to reproduce. Some plants in the desert have thorns, and we have to be careful of those. So plants are very interesting living things that we can study, and we can figure out what are about the plants, what are the causes, and what are the results of those features of the plants. Okay, well, that's our lesson for today. As always, thanks for studying with me. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.